You're going to find some great people in different countries, and you'll find some really trash people in other countries. So it just depends on how open-minded you are. Interjection. If a Korean man asks you if you are open-minded, run. Okay? Do not walk. Run. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Passport to Perspectives. This is Taryn Miller, your host, and we are going to dive right into episode 2. Today's episode is K-drama dreams to cultural curiosity. In episode 1, I talked about the journey to getting to Korea and the fascination with the Korean culture and the things that I did that helped me finally make my decision to move abroad. I love it here, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Living here in South Korea is not always butterflies and roses, you guys. It does come with its challenges, and it comes with some interesting story times. So I think we should definitely dive into that today. As stated before, I post some open questions on Instagram, so I am answering those for you today. So the second round of questions we'll be dealing with is, what is a Koreaboo? Do I know any Koreaboos? Am I a Koreaboo? How is the dating life here in Korea? And what is my experience with the dating culture? So let's get into it. If you see me looking down at my iPad while explaining things to you, just know that I want to give you the real and true definition of what these terms mean, because I don't want to mess them up for myself or give you my ideas or thoughts about something and it be wrong. So I'm definitely going to do my best to give you the true definitions along with my personal experiences. As defined by the internet, a Koreaboo is a term used to describe someone who is overly obsessive with Korean culture, often to the point of fetishizing it. They might idealize Korea, its people, and its pop culture without fully understanding the nuances or complexities. Essentially, the obsession is the biggest focus within what a Koreaboo really is. And the obsession, when I tell you that it is real. I've seen people come to Korea just expecting for Korea to be something. And when it completely shatters their ideals, then they get upset or infuriated and just talk a lot of junk about the country. And while I can see where their frustrations are coming from, I also don't think they should disillusion themselves to what the culture is truly about. So let me give you some characteristics of what a Koreaboo would be like. So some Koreaboos, they like to claim Korean identity. Mind you, they're totally different ethnicities, right? But they claim to be Korean just because they've heard about Korean culture. Hey, some Koreaboos go as far as denouncing their own culture and claiming themselves as Korean. They might even mimic some physical features like getting monolids, which is kind of funny because Korea actually does the opposite. To be more westernized, they get double eyelid surgery. And so it's funny how, you know, the saying, we always want something that we can't have. It's funny how, you know, sometimes that mirrors itself in between different countries. Now, a lot of people wanted to know if I was a Koreaboo as well. So I'm actually going to compare the characteristics of a Koreaboo with my personal experience here. Claiming and denouncing my own culture? Absolutely not. I'm not claiming to be a Korean, nor will I denounce my own culture. I love the culture that I come from. American culture is interesting because I do appreciate where I come from, but I don't necessarily love everything about where I come from. So it's very difficult and complex to explain and understand. So we're just going to keep it at that. As far as mimicking their features, absolutely not. I love my features. I am a BBW. And for those of you that don't know, big, beautiful woman. You hear me? Okay. Sorry, just thought I'd throw that in there. Another sign is mixing the language. Okay, so oftentimes Koreaboos will mix languages and phrases of the Korean language within their speech without fully understanding what they mean. So someone might say something like paboya, which means stupid, right? But they might say it in the incorrect context and it just sounds really weird. Or 진짜? That means really in Korean. And so some people will literally say this word until it is stabbed into the ground. They will say it over and over and over again. And it gets to be a lot, especially if, the 2 or 3 words that they know are the only things that they say. And they don't actually try to learn the language in itself. That's very frustrating for some Korean people, I've heard. Not only are they using these expressions improperly, they also have a very limited understanding of Hangul. Hangul is the Korean script. It's like the alphabet for English. And it consists of around, I believe, 26 symbols. I could be wrong. I need to know that. But Hangul you can learn within a very short period of time. And it's not extremely hard. Learning the language is hard, but learning Hangul is not that difficult. But they will say words like 안녕하세요 or 감사합니다 and things of that nature, but will not know how to write it out in Hangul, or even if they saw it, I don't think they would understand what that truly means. So when it comes to mixing languages, honestly, I will say that I do use a lot of Korean phrases in my everyday life with my friends. However, we don't do it excessively. And we are also learning the language, right? So I know a little bit of Korean and so do my friends. And eventually I will start taking classes and learning the language in its totality. Right? So I care about the language. I care about Hangul. I actually understand the symbols and what they mean. I can read Hangul, but sometimes my pronunciation is not that great. So I do get nervous when trying to say anything in Korean or trying to read anything in Korean. So either way, I'm still going to learn it. I honestly think the language is beautiful. I love listening to it. When I was watching K-dramas before I got to Korea, I definitely started mimicking the phrases and the words because it's such a beautiful and honestly sometimes very cutesy language. And I like how it allowed women to be cute, right? In the films and in the dramas, femininity in itself was celebrated. And I will definitely talk more about that in later episodes. Koreaboos also idolize Korean celebrities. They will immediately fall in love with a guy that they just saw on TV and just think that he is the most pure, most beautiful man in this world. Call him oppa and say 사랑해요 and like all of these terms. And if they're looking at K-pop girly groups, then they're saying, oh, 언니 and things of that nature. But honestly, don't understand what these words truly mean in Korean culture. Let me give you a little breakdown of each of these words. Oppa refers to older brother in Korean, right? So it's usually when a younger girl is talking to an older guy, okay? She would call him oppa. Or if it's her older brother in general, then she would say oppa. It has been expressed that when foreigners call strangers oppa, Korean men get very confused and they feel quite uncomfortable because they don't know these girls. Usually you call someone oppa, right, when you know them or you have some kind of relationship with them. But to call a stranger oppa and not even know if he's older than you or younger than you could be considered very weird. Also, in Korean culture, sometimes oppa is used as a term of endearment between couples who are in relationships. So just to be cute, someone girlfriend would be like, oh, oppa, and just call out as if he's, her older brother. That one is a little interesting to me, but cultural differences, something that I don't necessarily understand, but I don't judge them for it. If you were to be a male and you want to call out to an older male, then you would say hyung, right? So sometimes a lot of men will come here and call out oppa, right? But here it's not really seen as polite, or that's not what you're supposed to be calling them. You would, if someone is older than you and you're a male, then you would call them hyung. If they're younger than you, they would be dongsang, right? And that is for a male and a female. Anyone that's younger than you will be dongsang. So those are the differences on the male side. Now let's look at the female side. If you are a younger girl talking to an older girl, then you would call her onni, right? That means older sister. If you were a male calling out to an older girl, you would call her nuna, right? So again, when males come here and they don't necessarily know the right term, or when females come here and don't know the right term, then that's where the clashes happen. Of course, again, you would call these names to people that you know. There are polite ways to call strangers and people that you don't know. And onni and oppa is not one of the polite callings. And of course, the obsession with 사랑해요. So you hear this on a consistent basis in K-dramas and sometimes in K-pop, but mainly in K-dramas, where people are just calling out, I love you, or different ways of saying I love you, right? There's 사랑해, 사랑해요. That's all I can think of right now. But yes, there are different ways of calling it out. And within the right context, it's okay. But sometimes within the wrong context, it can become a little bit uncomfortable. And many times, once again, people will come here and just shout out, I love you to strangers or to K-pop idols and not understand the deeper meaning or the context of the words. So in regards to using these phrases, I do not use them whatsoever because I had Korean friends explain to me the cultural meaning behind these words. So I use them with people that I'm extremely comfortable with. And even then, I believe I've only used it once or twice. The time that I used onni is when I am trying to compliment an older lady. Usually, older women are called ajumas, or another word that we use here is agushi. Agushi. It's like the woman version of ajishi. So you can use those two. One means miss, but it's not necessarily polite. It's somewhat rude if you call someone that. And if you use ajuma, it does mean like an older woman. And sometimes a lot of women do not like to be called this. It's the same thing in America. No one wants to be called old or made to feel old. So sometimes when I want to make some of my coworkers that I'm really close with, if I want to make them feel good, then I'll be like, oh, onni, thank you, and we'll just have a good laugh together. And she blushes because, that means I'm calling her young and vivacious, things like that. So I try to make people feel comfortable with the words, but it's a playful action. We know each other. It's comfortable, right? So when you come here, you want to learn the terms of how to address people properly. If you are trying to decide whether you are a Koreaboo or not, let's really understand the meaning of what it is. Do you genuinely appreciate Korean culture, or do you romanticize it without understanding the depth? Remember that being passionate about the culture is different from fetishizing it. If you approach the Korean culture with respect and curiosity, then you're likely not a Koreaboo. And in my humble opinion, I am not a Koreaboo. I appreciate Korean culture. I did tons of research before ever coming into the country so that I could be respectful and understand the culture and its ways. Now we are going to talk about the dating life in Korea. In Korea, there are a lot of aspects that are different from Western cultures. So the first one would be couple culture. So couple culture means things like matching outfits, right? In America, on occasions, you can see couples matching each other, but it's usually like a little color scheme or something, but nothing is ever exactly the same. Here in Korea, literally couples will match from their head to their toes. It is crazy. And when I say match, I mean the color, the brand, the shirt itself, or the pants themselves, the shoes themselves, like everything is matching to the T. It's ridiculous, but cute in a way. So it depends on your taste. Personally, I don't mind matching with colors, but wearing different style outfits. But I have some friends who are like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I want to match from head to toe, to each his own, right? Whatever makes you feel comfortable. What is it? What's the saying? If you like it, I love it. Or nowadays it's, I love that for you. So yeah, that is a part of the couple culture. We also have the anniversaries. All right. So for Korean anniversaries, they celebrate the 100th day of being a couple, and they also celebrate the 1 year. Also, couple photos here are huge. There are photo booths on every corner here in Korea, especially in the bigger cities. People love taking photos with their friends or anybody really, but couples do it the most. Not only that, they love going to scenic routes or just random beautiful places and taking pictures of each other. And when I tell you Korean people can get some great angles in pictures and videos, they get the angles. That's one thing I'm low-key jealous about. Americans don't necessarily care enough to get good angles. We just kind of like, snap a picture and just go. But Koreans, you'll see them like ducking and dodging and crouching down and taking high angles. I love this. Even when they take pictures of us as foreigners, like they do their best to get the angles. You hear me? Every single angle that you need. If you want a curve in your video, like they will do it. Recently, I asked this couple to take a walking photo of me because we were the only ones in the general vicinity, and the way they did it was so cute. So I asked one of them to take the video, and it was a couple. So the girl was holding the phone with her boyfriend. So it's like they were both taking the video of me. And while he was holding the phone for the video, she was taking pictures while I was doing whatever I was doing in the video. Like, who would think to even do that? You gotta find you some Asian friends who love taking photos. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. Sometimes instead of going on regular dates, a lot of times you'll find Koreans doing kwaeshiks, which are group outings with your colleagues or with, a group of people that you surround yourself with a lot of times, and just socializing and getting to know each other through these outings. Sometimes the company will force you to go on these outings, and sometimes you are allowed to choose for yourself. So it just depends. But you can find some really nice people at these outings. Hey there, listeners. We're taking a quick break to say thank you for tuning in. Your support means the world to us, and we're happy to have you along for the ride. If you're enjoying the show and you want to keep up with the latest episodes, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram for any updates or behind the scenes content. For those of you who are craving the full experience, our Patreon is the place that you want to be. Subscribers get access to full-length episodes and even some spicier unfiltered content that we just can't show anywhere else. Do you have a burning question or a topic you're curious about? Drop us a message and we'll do our best to feature your question in future episodes. And now, without further ado, let's get back to the show. They do have something similar to what Americans call blind dating. They call it soul gating. Soul gating is basically a get-together. Say, for instance, you have a friend who wanted to recommend another person to you, and you get together and it's an outing. You go have coffee, you go get dinner, and you just have a good time getting to know that other person. But it's mainly through someone you already know, right? So just a mutual connection. So that is called soul gating here. And it happens more or less between Koreans and other Koreans. But if you're a foreigner and you want to be set up like that, then you could ask someone else and dive into that culture. So that's up to you whether you want to do that or whether you want to stick to dating apps. Your choice. So similar to Huishik, there are just gatherings and social events that you can go to, maybe to where there's just big groups of people and you don't feel so pressured to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody. So there's tons of ways that you can date out here, and those are some specific ways. And of course, as I've mentioned, you do have dating apps like Tinder, Noondate, Hello Talk, Bumble. Technically, Hello Talk is not supposed to be a dating app, but it's become that way in recent years. It's supposed to be a language exchange app for people who are trying to learn Korean, or vice versa, people who want to learn English or whatever language that you signed up as, but it has become a dating scene. Just be cautious while using dating apps here, because there are a lot of people who are misusing these apps. And some people will come on the apps to find a relationship, while other people are on the apps just to have fun. And a lot of time, apps here in Korea are seen for people who just want to have fun. So be aware of that. You will encounter people who are trying to get to know you in a different way. I will leave that up to your imagination. So yes, my advice is to proceed cautiously when it comes to dating apps. Also, when you are here looking to date in Korea, age hierarchy, it matters. Okay, so there are a lot of people that it does matter to, but the younger generation, not so much. So it is changing slightly, but it's still very big in this culture. So if someone is older than you, you address them politely. There are things while you are dating that you're supposed to do. One of the cultural things that I can tell you about is how you drink with people. So usually, because I don't know how this person wants to get to know me, if I'm drinking any kind of alcohol, and it's poured for me, like you hold your hand, both hands out, right, to receive the drink, which is a lot of times what you do for many different things. When you're receiving or when you're giving here in Korea, you're supposed to use two hands and not one. If you use one, it is considered rude. So most of the time you use two, right? Or you can use one and then the other hand kind of like supports this hand, or, you put it under or near your ribs or something like that. It just is showing that you're always using a form of two hands for respect. So a lot of times I'll receive my drink with two hands. And then when I do drink, I turn my head away from whoever I'm talking to. And usually you'll do this with people who are older than you as a sign of respect, right? So if someone has invited you out, especially if you're at a huishik, a company dinner, you're drinking with them, turn your head away when you are drinking. It's just considered respectful. I did have an experience where I went on a date and I turned my head away and started drinking. And he was like, "What's wrong? Are we not close? Are we not cool?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to be respectful. I didn't mean any harm by it." But he kind of saw it as me drawing a line between him and I. So I had to say, "No, I was just trying to be respectful. This is what I learned from Korean culture. So that's the only reason why." So yeah, if you're just trying to get to know somebody and date somebody, that may not be necessary. It depends on who that person is and their ideas and their values, right? But if you are at a company dinner and you want to be respectful, then that is the way to do so. And while we are talking about being polite, always make sure to use polite language, right? While you're dating, while you're not dating, out in the field, in life, here in Korea, politeness is extremely important. Number one thing here, right? So when you're learning the language, I would suggest learning the polite form first, and then you can learn the casual form later. So for your challenges here as a foreigner, you will have some challenges, especially in regards to conversations, right? So in my experience, I have dated here in Korea. I've dated foreigners and I've dated Koreans. I've never been in a relationship while I've been here in Korea, but I have been on many of dates. I do find them to be quite similar in regards to men, right? So not necessarily how they all date, but just most men in this world are the same, just like most women are, right? You're going to find some great people in different countries and you'll find some really trash people in other countries. So it just depends on how open-minded you are. Interjection. If a Korean man asks you if you are open-minded, run. Okay, do not walk, run. The open-minded here usually means, are you ready to get down with the get down? Okay, and that is not what we are trying to do. I'm just trying to get to know you, sir. I just want to know your name. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And they ask you this like immediately upon talking to you online or meeting you in person, like, do you live alone? Are you open-minded? Do you want to eat ramen at my place? Like, just run, okay? Trust me when I say this. Unless you are looking to have a good time. And then, girl or guy, have your fun. Do what you do. But back to the language barriers. I can recall this time that I asked a guy if he wanted to just run an errand with me. I wasn't necessarily trying to go on a date with him, but he did say he wanted to meet me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to run up to Namdaemun in Seoul, so you're more than welcome to join me. And so he said, yeah, sure. So we met on the subway and he was struggling trying to speak English. Mind you, there is a beautiful app here called Papago. And it helps translate English to Korean. And it does a decent job. It's not like the best thing in the world, but it is probably the number one translation app here in Korea. So he was trying to use Papago, but he didn't want to use it. So every time he tried to explain something to me in English and I didn't understand, he would get so frustrated. Like, he would start to get angry. And I felt so bad. I was like, it's okay. I'm sorry I don't know Korean and, you don't know English. It's fine to use the app. We can communicate that way. But I think he was just trying his hardest to do his best at speaking English. And I wanted to support that. So I was doing my best to be patient while he was getting angry. So that was an interesting, I don't even know if I could call it a date. It was an outing. It ended up very badly. And that is going to be a story time for another day because that was a crazy story. However, language barriers can be challenging here. There are Koreans here who know English and who can speak it very well, right? And then there are lower level English speakers who sometimes need to use Papago. You have to be willing to communicate with the people who are at lower level English and be open to growing that relationship with them. Personally, I can talk with someone who is at a lower level English. I don't mind teaching them things, talking to them. However, I don't know if I would date someone who is at a lower level English, because I'm very big on having open communication and conversations with the people that I like. And clearly, I am always talking, right? So I want to be able to have clear and open communication with the person that I'm getting to know. So I don't necessarily see myself dating anyone who is at a lower level of English. Now, when I learn Korean, that can change. Now, when I did my research, it tells me that in Korea, public displays of affection are less common. In some cases, I would say that is true, but let's be honest, Korea is the couple capital of the world. I don't care what anybody says, especially Seoul. I cannot go anywhere in Korea without seeing couples holding hands or matching with each other or hugged up on each other. I've even seen some couples kiss each other in public, right? So I think it depends on where you are and how old you are, because it's mostly in the generation of millennials, Gen Z, and further down. So I feel like that's going to depend the level of PDA, where you are, and what your generation is. But personally, I've seen a lot of PDA. I have also experienced a session of PDA. And when I was younger, I didn't care. I would show the whole world. I was like, whatever, this is me. This is who I am. This is my boo. Can't nobody tell us anything, But as I got older, I think I started to become a little bit more self-aware of what's happening around me, and people watching me make out with somebody is just it's not what I want. So I had that situation happen. I turned red. Like, I cannot hide my emotions. So when I am embarrassed, when I am nervous, when I am overwhelmed, I just turn as red as an apple. And I also, for some reason, start to sweat. Like, what even is that? So basically, we had that moment. And then I asked, okay, we need to go somewhere else because the people staring is not giving. So let's go. But yeah, that was an interesting moment of PDA. But usually PDA is not like super common here, especially among older people, right? But you will find it in younger generations, and especially places like Hongdae or Itaewon, places where people usually go to party and enjoy the nightlife. So let's look at traditional values versus modern values, okay? And again, you are going to find the differences in between the two with different generations. There are many Koreans here who still hold those traditional values, wanting to get married, wanting to have kids, wanting to live in a house here in Korea. But more often than not, you will find people with modern values nowadays because of some things that are happening in Korea in regards to housing, government help, the low birth rate. There's a lot of things happening in Korea right now that's preventing traditional values and bringing more modern values to the forefront. You will notice now a lot of Koreans wanting to be together, right, but not grow old together. Or they're just serial monogamist, right? They're getting in one relationship after another, but never fully committing to one person. It used to be more of traditional values, but I think because of the things that have happened recently, it's become more modernized. I would say a lot of times with traditional values as well, you have a lot of parents who are not wanting their children to marry outside of the culture. So Korean parents are wanting, especially their firstborn sons, to marry another Korean woman. They want to keep their culture going and the tradition going. So you will find a lot of times that Korean parents are very iffy when it comes to their children dating foreigners. So it will depend on the family. Of course, there are a lot more modern families who are more or less worried about who their children love. Are they compatible with them? Do they have shared interests? Do they have an emotional connection, right? Those are the modern trends. But usually in the traditional trends, you will see what is their family background? Where do they come from? What kind of job do they have? Did they graduate from a good college? You know, like the things that used to matter back in the day. And of course, in some ways, they still matter today, but more so it's different nowadays in regards to how people date here in Korea. My dating experiences have been all over the place, right? I've had some really, really good dating experiences, and I've had some trash dating experiences. I've dated both Koreans and foreigners. I haven't had a relationship yet, so I haven't had a boyfriend here. However, I've been on many of dates, right? The ones that I enjoy the most have honestly turned out to be my friends. They are the kindest people. They're super sweet, and we just get along so well. But there wasn't really a connection. There was no chemistry, no big bang in it for me. And I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with making friends and finding new people to enter into my life. But when it comes to a relationship, I definitely would like to be with someone that, you know, butterflies in my stomach, right? The va-va-voom, you know, I want all of that. And then I've been on dates with some trash, y'all. Like, I really want to tell you some of these dating stories. It's crazy. Actually, I believe I will. I'm going to put these crazy stories up on Patreon. So if you guys want to subscribe to my Patreon to get those extra juicy, spicy bonus content of the dating stories, because okay, I need to stop thinking about it. Yes, just head over to the Patreon, subscribe to the channel, and you'll definitely get those updates there. But yeah, so I've been on great dates, I've been on decent dates, and I've been on trash dates. So it just depends on who you are as a person, what you want when you come here to Korea, right? There's an expectation of the dating apps, you know, being what they are. So if you're looking for fun and just to have some enjoyment here in Korea, then go that route. If you're looking for something more serious and traditional, maybe try finding someone through mutual friends or, you know, someone at a gathering, maybe joining a club and finding a person through the different activities that you do here in South Korea. So there's many different ways to meet Koreans here or foreigners. Thank you for tuning into this super fun episode where we've talked about what a Korea boo is, if I thought I was one, which I'm definitely not. I appreciate the culture. Also, the dating life here in Korea and my experiences within that dating lifestyle. Our next episode, I'm going to have a guest. Her name is Rin, and we are going to talk about what it's like being a mother here in South Korea. So if you are going to be interested in that episode, please make sure you subscribe to the channel for any updates. But if you're curious about anything that we've talked about today, make sure you comment down below, like the video, and just let me know what questions you have. And you can also head over to the Patreon if you want to ask more specific or detailed questions or just talk with me personally. Thank you all for joining our second episode of Passport to Perspectives. I hope you all have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.